What do you think of when you hear the word water pollution? What is water pollution? Where do you usually see it? What does it look like? Is it bad for our health? Let me tell you that there is more to water pollution than just dark, murky water. For people living in Bangkok, polluted water is certainly a part of our everyday life. No matter where you go, there is no escape. But have you ever wondered where the dirty water comes from? First, it comes from household uses. People sometimes dump grey water straight into canals without proper treatment. Some empty their bins into the water, sometimes even fecal matter. This is a big issue in lower-income areas like crowded slums, where it is difficult to enforce proper waste management. Another source of pollution is industrial wastewater. Despite being under strict regulations by law, there are no guarantees that the regulations can prevent all contaminations. Moving on to the last source, the agricultural sector. In Thailand, there is extensive use of chemical fertilizers, insecticides, and herbicides. Furthermore, animal farms produce tons of manure every day. The animals also require medicines, like humans, especially the use of antibiotics to stop the spread of diseases in the farms. As you can see, there are plenty of ways pollutants can enter our water. We'll go into detail about how later in the video. Furthermore, we regularly hear news about the mismanagement of chemical waste and its impact on locals. For example, a palm oil extraction factory in Krabi province discarded their wastewater into the local source of water. The wastewater had a strong odor and killed the fish in the area. The locals had to file an official complaint to the province's Department of Industry. In another case from Lopburi province, 200 liters of chemicals and 300 barrels of industrial waste were dumped into an old ditch. The chemicals seeped into the soil and gave off a strong odor. The nearby villagers were nauseated from the stench. The examples show that chemical waste problems often stem from factories. So, the best practice to deal with these contaminations is to stop the root cause, which is the inappropriate disposal of chemicals. According to the Ministry of Industry's announcement, wastewater from normal factories must follow these requirements. You can see that the color of water is important. The temperature is also crucial, as it can't be too hot or too cool. Meanwhile, suspended solids are like small dust that float in water. The requirement means that the water cannot be turbid, and we should be able to see through it. And it must be colorless too. These requirements can all be seen with the naked eye. As you can see, a lot of water pollution problems can be avoided if we change the way we dispose of chemical waste and have stricter regulations. In time, our society can decrease overall pollution in the environment. What if I were to tell you that there are more pollutants than the ones you already know? Ones that are a silent danger because we cannot see it. Traditional wastewater treatment also cannot effectively remove these types of pollutants. This could mean that more pollutants are leaving the wastewater treatment plant than what is going in. What are emerging pollutants? Emerging pollutants, EPs, are defined as synthetic or naturally occurring chemicals that are not commonly monitored in the environment, but which have the potential to enter the environment and cause known or suspected adverse ecological and/or human health effects. Examples? You might be confused as to what emerging pollutants look like in real life. Actually, you are encountering more emerging pollutants than you think, as the most common kinds are from personal care products and medicines. In the morning, after you get up, you go shower. There, you will find your shampoo, soap, and shower gels. Then, you do your makeup, applying moisturizer, sunscreen, and foundation. After getting dressed, you put on a generous amount of your favorite perfume. Guess what? All those things contain emerging pollutants, such as preservatives like parabens and UV ray blockers like benzophenone. These are the pollutants you encounter when you're perfectly healthy. But what if you fall ill? Imagine waking up to a lump on your eyelid or sty. You need to go see a doctor. What does the doctor give you? You might get a 14-day dose of antibiotics, dozens of pills, to fight the infection. But did you know that these antibiotics are also considered an emerging pollutant? And it is one that is very hard to remove. There are many ways that emerging pollutants can be released into water. The first possible source is wastewater from pharmaceutical factories that contains levels of antibiotics and reagents. The second source is from hospitals, where the patients take antibiotics. Multiple reports suggest that the hospital wastewater treatment system cannot dispose of antibiotics. Another source comes from people's homes, where people use their personal care products like makeup and sunscreen and take medicines or hormones. All the contaminated water then goes to municipal wastewater treatment facilities. Keep in mind that there is still leftover pollutants in treated water after it leaves these plants. Surprisingly, agriculture and livestock also contribute to this contamination problem. There is the use of harmful herbicides, namely paraquat, in sugarcane or oil palm farms. And antibiotics are used in animals in farms to keep germs from our food. Don't worry, emerging pollutants are scary, but there are ways to fight them. Believe it or not, you already know one method, which is filters. Using elementary school level science, you can use an empty bottle, some rocks, pebbles, and sand with the help of charcoal and cotton, and create a homemade water filter. The filter consists of 5 layers. The first layer, or the top layer, is filled with rocks. The second layer is filled with pebbles. Then we put sand in the third layer, charcoal in the fourth. At last, we have cotton at the bottom. The way the filter works is simple. Water enters from the top and flows down the bottle by gravity. As it flows, the largest contaminants in water get caught in the rock layer. Imagine things like hair, grass, and leaves, things that you can see with your eyes. Then, smaller objects get stuck in the pebbles, such as ants and algae. After that, the water reaches the sand layer, where tinier things like dust get removed. If you were to look at the color of the water right now, it would be clear, maybe a little yellow, but you can see through it. As of now, do you think the emerging pollutants are still in the water? Yes, they're still in there. Emerging pollutants can be removed through adsorption. Adsorption is a wastewater purification method for removing a wide range of compounds from industrial wastewater. It could also be used for groundwater and drinking water. Let's learn adsorption terms. The first word, adsorbent, means a solid surface that compounds get adsorbed on. In other words, pollutants get stuck to an adsorbent. The second word, adsorbate, means the pollutants themselves. An adsorbate gets adsorbed on an adsorbent. What is the best type of charcoal? In this water filter, charcoal acts as an adsorbent, which means the pollutant compounds stick to the surface of the charcoal. So, if there are 10 green circles, each representing a pollutant in the dirty water, and 8 get stuck on the charcoal, we will have 2 left in the water at the end. Now imagine that the circles can only get stuck if they touch the charcoal, and they are tiny compared to the charcoal particles. Between the picture on the left and on the right, which one can adsorb more circles? The answer is the one on the right. Why? Do you know? They are the same black circles, but the one on the right has holes, while the one on the left is smooth. This type of charcoal is called activated carbon. To put simply, activated carbon is charcoal with pores, so it has high surface area. The next question is this type of carbon expensive? The answer is yes and no. Yes, in some cases it's expensive, because we can buy one that is full of uniform pores which can adsorb almost anything. On the other hand, no, it's cheap because we can use plant waste to make this type of carbon. The most common agricultural wastes in Thailand are coconut shell, rice husk, hay, bagasse, sugarcane, and palm oil root. These wastes should not be called waste because they are valuable. One way we can add value to them is using them as activated carbon precursor. Plant waste is placed in a limited oxygen atmosphere, then burned to high temperature. This is called pyrolysis. The result is char or biochar because it's from a biomass. Now, activated carbon is an improved biochar. We can further burn the biochar under carbon dioxide atmosphere or with steam to enhance its porous properties. This is called physical activation. Or we can mix our biomass with some chemicals before the pyrolysis process. This is called chemical activation. Activation leads to better properties of activated carbon, such as more pores, larger pores, the right kind of pores, etc. Let's look at a commercial water filter, which is quite similar to the one we already discussed. The focus is on the charcoal and fixed bed adsorption. This is when the adsorbents or activated carbons are packed into a stationary position for the water to flow through. As the water travels, the emerging pollutants are adsorbed on the surface, and the concentration gets lower and lower until it reaches a safe value. As you can see, it works the same way as our homemade water filter. All in all, we learned that there is a new type of water pollutant called emerging pollutants. These things are not yet regulated by law and pose a threat to our health and environment. Our wastewater treatment system can be improved to handle these new pollutants by adsorption process, which is simple and effective. The activated carbon adsorbent also supports biocircular green economy since it can be synthesized from agricultural waste that is abundant and cheap. We should all learn to be mindful of our actions that would cause the environment any harm, because as young students, we need a home to live in for the next few decades. So, let's make our home more comfortable for ourselves and everyone else. This video is brought to you by Royal Engineering Academy's Newton Fund under TSP 1104, project title Biochar from Agri-Waste for Removal of Emerging Pollutants in Wastewater. Special thanks to Chulalongkorn University, Thailand, in collaboration with our partners, Kingston University, London, Anamad Company Limited, VPC Group, Primenanotechnology Company Limited, Pheedo Company Limited, and Bangchak Corporation Public Company Limited.